He had passed out again. Ah. As soon as he came to his senses, his eyes bulged open, and he abruptly sat up. Despite fainting from a blow to the face, he felt refreshed. Shine licked his lips as if checking something, but there was no wound. Whether it was because he had been lying down for a long time or because the body he possessed had an insane healing ability, it wasn't important right now. Damn. Looking out the window, dawn was breaking. The sun peeked out from between snow-covered mountains. Thick and heavy clouds split as if cut by Moses' miracle. Shine seemed to have an idea why this place was called Dawn Castle. His appreciation was brief. Shit. A curse slipped from his lips. Did I get hit and pass out again? Waking up in the same place and position after fainting felt like déjà vu. How can I wake up in the same place and time? He hadn't died and been resurrected. Shine chuckled and opened the drawer next to the bed. He picked up an expensive-looking pen and took out a hidden piece of paper from beneath the hinge. I'll have to raise the risk level. Lucia was more dangerous than expected. He hadn't expected her to punch him just for playing a light prank. It was completely unexpected. Just because I put a snowball inside her clothes, she got this mad. If asked why he did it, he'd just express his frustration. Yes, part of it was to let her experience the almost fraudulent training method he knew, but also, she seemed so downcast and sulky that he thought changing the mood might be good. It was his version of consideration. Shine massaged his neck and took a deep sigh. With such a violent person, how delicate and sensitive Shine must have felt. It's obvious. They must have fought tooth and nail. Time to change the plan. Shine tore up the paper filled with various writings. To prevent anyone from seeing, he shredded it finely and threw it into the fire in the corner. The game didn't show their childhood. It was unclear why Shine Prind knew he would die but still blocked Lucia's path. It was assumed that Shine, feeling inferior to the increasingly prominent Lucia, went mad from the continuous pressure and hated his younger sibling. Thinking about it made him feel sympathy. Somehow, he felt like he overlapped with Shine Prind. Poor Shine. Surviving from such a monster since childhood. Impressive. Really impressive. He took out a new piece of paper. Shine decided to overhaul the plan he had initially set up. I won't forget your death and will use it well. Shine scribbled on the paper. Scribble, scribble. Various elements were listed on the slightly discolored paper. Current location, upcoming areas, useful items to acquire, and elements to avoid. He even wrote things that, if seen by the scholars of the Academy, would make them exclaim that the world's mysteries had finally been solved. Lastly, becoming close with the younger sister is on hold. Shine firmly dotted the paper. The plan had changed. He had planned to manipulate her since childhood, but it wasn't as easy as he thought. Shine organized his writing tools and lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. He suddenly thought, if I were the original, Shine. Perhaps he would have run out of the room and challenged Lucia to a duel immediately. It was an amusing thought. No. Come to think of it, it wasn't fun at all. As Shine became sentimental, a chill ran down his spine. One shouldn't take death lightly. Shine pressed his temples hard. Although it had only been 2 days, many facts were verified. The most important was the presence or absence of a game system. Adaptability and proficiency. This could be said to be the core gimmick of the reincarnation of the Sword Saint game. It was not a complicated system. When a player was active in cold conditions, they took damage and, at the same time, gained cold resistance. Likewise, as weapons or tools were used, the proficiency of that weapon type increased. This would serve as a safety mechanism for future dangers. Shine mulled over his experiences from numerous plays and the plans based on them. At least I shouldn't get hit and faint. Shine clenched his fist. The foundation building for the future had begun. Thump, 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 thump. Footprints piled up on the pristine snowy field. Did it snow while he was asleep? Running with snow stuck to the feet was no easy task. Pant, pant. Shine exhaled visible white breaths continuously. He felt as if he could collapse any moment from the breathlessness. Stay strong, young master. It's the last lap. However, despite the excruciating pain, Shine did not give up. The moment he gave up on just one lap, the efficiency of the training would decrease. Thud. Finally, in the last lap, Shine fell flat on the snow. He didn't care about his clothes getting wet. Struggling, Shine flipped over and opened his mouth. Pant, pant, Insia. How many minutes was it? He spoke as if spitting out words to the maid holding an hourglass. When he asked Yuma for a maid to assist in his training, she had been the one assigned. The maid, who tied her reddish blonde hair in lively twin tails, began to count the hourglasses. 1, 2, 5.5, you took 27 minutes and 30 seconds. Are you sure? Write it as 28 minutes. Shine, with trembling hands, unbuckled the heavy armor he had wrapped around him. Clinking sounds filled the air as he also took off his gauntlets and greaves. That's mean, young master. I was so careful in timing you. Insia wrote the number on paper, looking about to cry. 10 laps in the training ground, 28 minutes. It was the record of Shine running with heavy weights attached. By the way, isn't there a wind-up clock here? It's frustrating not to measure time accurately. Young master, considering this climate, there won't be any clock repairman who'd be willing to come. Moreover, there's a lot of time deviation in this cold region. Even if there was one, it'd be a mere ornament. Just an ornament. I see. Of course. The most accurate measurement methods are the hourglass and sundial. If you say so. Shine wasn't entirely pleased. The fact that they couldn't measure time accurately was laughable in a world where magic existed, and there were trains and airships in distant capitals. Of course, magic could measure time accurately, but unfortunately, most of the maids of Dawn Castle couldn't use magic. After catching his breath for a moment, Shine took a chunk of ice and placed it in his mouth. Now, it felt neither cold nor refreshing, but just like drinking ice water. He couldn't help but smile at the quicker than expected result. Young master. That's when Insia, placing her hand on her hip, looked at Shine reproachfully. He responded in an uninterested tone. What? When you're thirsty, you can drink the lemonade I prepared. That was a valid point. Shine, finishing the chunk of ice in his mouth, looked blankly at Insia. I'm not thirsty. I have my reasons. May I ask what those reasons are? You don't need to know. Instead, help me up. Insia grabbed the hand that Shine extended towards her. She also didn't forget to carefully brush off the snow that had settled on Shine's clothes. Master, if you catch a cold from this, I will be scolded by the head maid. At her slightly saddened voice, Shine let out a deep sigh and glanced at Insia. I won't catch a cold. Even if I do, I can explain it to Yuma. Really? Yes, if you understand, bring me a spear. Shine took a sip of the lemonade that she had prepared for him. The sweet and sour taste spread throughout his mouth, making him feel refreshed. I wonder if it really works this way. Shine asked inwardly. Energetic maid's lemonade. The drink Shine was having wasn't just any ordinary drink. It was an item obtainable from a side quest. Upon consumption, it immediately removes fatigue effects. Quite a valuable item. After a short moment, even before Shine's glass was empty, Insia brought him a bundle of spears. Even though she covered a significant distance in a short time, she didn't seem disheveled or rushed. Good. Shine gripped a spear slightly shorter than his height. Although it felt a bit thick for a child to hold, it wasn't impossible to grasp. Perhaps because of the lemonade, he felt completely re-energized. He loosened up his body with a few shoulder rotations. Hup! With a shout, he threw the spear. Once released from Shine's grip, the spear landed a quarter of the way to the practice target. The result was worse than expected. About 30 meters, I guess. It's garbage without the proper technique, unlike using sheer strength. Master, I've prepared a rope. Shall I measure the distance for you? Insia, who had come holding a rope with several knots, approached Shine. She did this even without being told. Her attentiveness pleased Shine. No need. Just a rough estimate by eye will do. That concluded today's basic strength training. Shine turned around and held a spear and staff in each hand. It was time for the next exercise. Shine swung his weapons with all his might in a spot easily visible from the mansion. Insia watched him for a while and then turned her head to speak. Master. What? As Shine continued to swing, he replied, somewhat anticipating her concern. The young lady keeps glancing over here. I know. Did something happen? Don't worry about it. But even if you say that. Insia's worried expression seemed to plead for a response, but Shine merely lifted one corner of his lips in a smirk. Inside the halls of Dawn Castle. Among the numerous windows in the corridor on the top floor. What a surprise. Lucia sighed deeply, brushing her chest. She leaned against the window with her chin propped up, momentarily gazing at the boy. The gazes met because of the demon girl who claimed to be Shine's errand runner. Her pride was needlessly hurt, making her grind her teeth. What on earth is he doing? When she opened the window because of the incessant noises from the morning, there was Shine doing the same unbelievable training as yesterday. Moreover, today, he was with a demon girl. If he got hurt doing that, what was he going to do? Such worries naturally arose in her. Had she, in the meantime, grown fond of him? It almost feels like she was like a mother who had lost her child by the waterside. Mo, teacher. Lucia momentarily widened her eyes. She must be crazy. She was already regretting not having experienced love even once, but now to think of herself as a mother. Goosebumps rose on her arms, and she roughly brushed them off. She felt awkward, and her insides churned. Lucia tried to calm herself down by sweeping back her disheveled hair and welcoming the cold wind. At least he hasn't given up. Lucia felt only relief. She was worried that Shine might give up on his sword training, that he might corner himself and cry, drenching his sleeves with tears. However, instead of shedding tears, Shine was punishing his body even more brutally than yesterday. He seemed quite pleased with such training or practice. He was jumping around, wrapped in chainmail and plate armor. Moreover, he carried a backpack that clearly looked heavy at first glance. He'd be lucky if he doesn't get sick from that. Lucia averted her gaze from the two. She tried to compose herself and focus on her own tasks. She had many unknowns in her present life, so she decided to start with an investigation. The next morning, Lucia opened her eyes to the noise from outside the window. She roughly adjusted her disheveled hair and flung the window wide open. The cold winter wind cleared her drowsy mind. Shine was again training hard in the training ground. Usually, after overexerting oneself, one would typically be bedridden the next day. However, the more she watched, the more fascinating it became. Of course, seasoned warriors or monks would go about their daily lives without trouble even after facing near-death experiences, but Shine was just a child. But then, Lucia's gaze shifted from Shine to the maid attending to him. Listening to their conversation, the maid's name seemed to be Ophelia. If yesterday's demon girl, Incia, had a lively impression, this one appeared timid and shy. She wore a maid outfit with delicate frills, similar to the previous one, but her hair was different. She had fluffy hair that extended down to her waist, tied neatly with a headband, giving her a neat appearance. Even if she's a demon. The scene was hard to understand in many ways. It would have been incomprehensible 500 years ago, even for the most open-minded, to think a demon was running errands for a human child because some crazy beings obsessed with making deals were kind to humans. However, according to her research from yesterday, that wasn't the case. In this mansion, the only humans were her and Shine. It was unclear why a demon would be shyly and timidly laughing at the words of such a child. As far as Lucia knew, demons didn't hum songs and didn't make things like crowns. It seems Shine might have asked something of the girl named Ophelia. Lucia could only speculate. After a good sweat, Shine untied his armor and approached Ophelia. Slowly rising, Ophelia crowned Shine by placing a floral circlet on his head. What? Lucia felt a twinge of discomfort. She scrunched her face as if she had seen something she shouldn't have. The way they acted as if they were the protagonists of a fairy tale made her stomach churn. While Lucia was watching the two reenacting a scene from a fairy tale and taking a deep breath, Shine suddenly tore the circlet on his head to shreds. Lord, sorry, but thank you. Ophelia. What? Lucia was so shocked that she couldn't close her mouth. Had he lost his mind? The scene unfolding before her became increasingly incomprehensible. The demon girl wiped away tears with her sleeve, sobbing uncontrollably. Yet, Shine laughed heartily, seeming to be in a fantastic mood. I feel so refreshed because of that. Shine continued to laugh almost uncontrollably, patting the crying Ophelia's back. However, the maid's crying only intensified. Lucia murmured under her breath, watching the scene. Trash. Indeed, Shine was nothing but trash. Regardless of Lucia's disdain for demons, even to the point of loathing, this behavior was utterly inexcusable. Even the inquisitors of the Holy Empire would shake their heads at Shine's actions. Destroying a carefully made gift right in front of the giver. In Lucia's eyes, Shine appeared even more malicious than the demon Ophelia. With the sound of laughter and crying in the background, Lucia averted her gaze, pressing hard against her throbbing temples, and shut the window. She had plans to visit the library today. A week had passed since that day. Lucia didn't wake up to any noises from outside today. Finding it strange, she habitually opened her window. There was no one outside. The ground was covered with white snow, without a single footprint in sight. Did they give up? It was strange. Just yesterday, they had been training. What am I doing? The sun was already high in the sky. She had become accustomed to waking up to the sound of Shine's training every morning, but today, she had overslept. Knock knock. Are you awake, miss? As she stretched her sleepy body, she heard a knock followed by a woman's voice. Come in. Excuse me. The heavy door opened, and two maids carrying a tray with washing tools gently entered. Thanks, as always. It's our duty, miss. The maid skillfully tidied up Lucia's tousled hair. In no time, Lucia had become accustomed to being attended to by the maids. Initially, she used formal language with them, but soon enough, she naturally began to treat them as inferiors. They'd overreact and become flustered every time she spoke formally, so it naturally transitioned this way. She dipped her hands in the warm water held by the basin, melting away the chill and washing her face. She then dried her face with a steaming hot towel. Is this the life of the nobility? Lucia deeply enjoyed the soft touch as she relaxed her whole body. Soon, a pleasant smile formed on her lips. She no longer cared that the mansion's servants were of demonic descent. What's the big deal if the demons? The world must have changed over the last 500 years. Whether Shine knew about the true identities or not, she had no way of knowing. But she felt it was foolish to agonize over something she didn't really care about. When the maids finished brushing her hair, they tied it back neatly with a silky ribbon. One of the maids brought a mirror and showed Lucia her reflection. In the mirror was a girl with red hair, adorably dressed. Are you planning to go to the library again today? Yes, why not? Lucia smirked and reached out her hand to the maid. With a clinking sound, a bunch of keys were placed in her hand. On her way to the library, Lucia remembered how she practically lived in the library over the past week. She sighed deeply, her shoulders slumping. I thought it would be easier. Lucia was currently facing a huge challenge, reading. To understand the magnitude of the problem, she had made no progress in her research for a week, to the extent that she even neglected her training. I never missed training in my past life. Determined to make progress, even if it was just a single page, she inserted the key into the library's door and pulled. Clank. Ha. Clank clank. Why isn't it opening? It was strange. The door opened just fine yesterday. Ugh. No matter how much force she applied, it wouldn't budge. Wondering if it was a push door, she tried pushing with all her might, but it didn't move an inch. Just as she thought she might have inserted the wrong key and tried to pull it out. Ouch. She bumped her face on the suddenly opened door. Rubbing her forehead, she cautiously opened her eyes. Lucia took a step back, visibly shocked. What are you doing? It was Shine who opened the door. Lucia was wondering why he wasn't in the training grounds, but it seemed that he was here. Well, the door wouldn't open. The door wouldn't. Shine looked at the keyhole and then looked at Lucia with a pitiful expression. Demonstrating as if to show her how it was done, he precisely turned the key twice in the lock. Clank clank. You locked the already opened door by turning the key again. Oh. Lucia wished she could hide in a mouse hole. Her face turned crimson from embarrassment. She hung her head in shame for a moment. Hey, what are you doing? Ha, weren't you here for a reason? Why are you just standing there? If you stay still, I'll close it. Shine was waiting, holding the door open as if urging her to hurry in. Thank you. Relieved that Shine didn't mock her, Lucia entered the library. Next episode. Previous episode.